I never thought silence could be so loud. That's what I learned working in the Harrison household. When I first walked through those massive iron gates, I thought I was stepping into a dream. The mansion looked like something from a magazine. White marble columns, crystal chandeliers that sparkled like stars, gardens so perfect they didn't look real. But inside those beautiful walls there was a silence that broke my heart every single day. My name is Elena. I'm 52 years old now. Back then I was 48, a widow trying to make ends meet after losing my husband to cancer. I needed work. I needed purpose. I needed something to fill the emptiness in my own home. So when the agency called about a live-in maid position for a wealthy family, I said yes without hesitation. That I should tell you, I wasn't always a maid. I used to be a teacher. I taught elementary school for 20 years. But after my husband died, I couldn't stand in front of those children anymore. Every smile reminded me of the children we never had. Cleaning houses seemed easier, quieter, less painful. But the Harrison family would teach me that sometimes, the quietest places hold the deepest pain. Mr. James Harrison was a billionaire. He made his fortune in technology. His wife Victoria was elegant and cold. She wore designer clothes and perfect makeup, but her eyes were always distant. And then there was Gabriel, 7 years old. Blonde hair that curled at the edges. Blue eyes that held oceans of longing. Born completely deaf. The first time I saw him, he was sitting alone in the library, running his small fingers over the spines of books he couldn't hear read aloud. My heart cracked right there in that moment. I didn't know then that this little boy would change everything I thought I knew about love, family, and the power of really listening. The Harrison mansion had 42 rooms. I know because I counted them during my first week. Each one more beautiful than the last. Each one feeling strangely empty. Mrs. Chun, the head housekeeper, showed me around on my first day. She was a small woman in her 60s with kind eyes but a tired smile. The family keeps to themselves, she told me as we walked through the West Wing. Mr. Harrison works 16 hours a day. Mrs. Harrison has her charity events. And Gabriel. She paused outside a closed door. Gabriel has his therapists and tutors, sign language instructors, special education teachers. But mostly he's alone. Doesn't he have friends? Other children to play with? Mrs. Chun shook her head slowly. Mrs. Harrison says it's too difficult. The other children don't understand him. My chest tightened. I thought of all my years teaching. The children who struggled. The ones who were different. How the other kids would eventually accept them if given the chance. That's heartbreaking, I whispered. Yes, Mrs. Chun agreed. But it's not our place to interfere with family matters. But as she said those words, something in her eyes told me she didn't believe them either. That first night I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard soft footsteps in the hallway. I opened my door just a crack and saw him. Gabriel. Wearing little blue pajamas with rocket ships on them. Walking slowly through the corridor, trailing his hand along the wall. He couldn't hear me watching. He was in his own silent world, exploring the darkness. My instinct was to go to him. But I remembered Mrs. Chen's words. Not our place. So I watched until he turned the corner. But in that moment I made a decision. I might just be a maid, but I was also a human being. And that child needed someone. The next morning started at 5:30. The family barely acknowledged our presence. Mr. Harrison came down already on his phone. Mrs. Harrison sipped green juice and checked her reflection. Gabriel came down led by his tutor, Miss Phillips. A stern young woman with wire-rimmed glass. Him quick and efficient. He signed back but slowly, sadly. I watched from the doorway. He barely touched his food. The days fell into a routine. I cleaned, I served, I stayed invisible. But every moment I could, I watched Gabriel. He spent most mornings with Miss Phillips, learning sign language and doing schoolwork. Afternoons were with various therapists. Everyone was trying to fix him. No one was trying to understand him. In my second week, I was dusting the library when Gabriel came in. He went straight to the window and pressed his small hand against the glass, watching children playing outside the gates. He watched them with such longing that I had to turn away. When he finally noticed me, he startled. His eyes went wide. I smiled at him and waved. Just a small, gentle wave. He stared at me for a long moment. Then slowly he waved back. It was such a small thing. but it was the first real connection I'd seen him make. "Elena." Mrs. Harrison's voice came from the doorway, sharp and cold. "I need to speak with you." Gabriel quickly looked down. Mrs. Harrison gestured for him to follow her, and he did, without looking back. That night I cried. Not for myself but for him. For this little boy who was surrounded by people but completely alone. I thought about my husband, Miguel. He would have been braver. He would have done something. But what could I do? I was just a maid. Still, as I lay in bed, I made a promise. I would find a way to reach Gabriel, to let him know that someone saw him. I just had to be patient. 2 weeks passed before I had another real interaction with Gabriel. I was changing linens in his bedroom while he was at therapy. His room was enormous but strangely sterile. Blue walls, educational posters, toys that looked barely touched. But on his nightstand I found something that made me pause. A small wooden box hand-carved with stars, things a child collects, things that matter to him. I was carefully placing the box back when I heard a sound behind me. Gabriel stood in the doorway. Miss Phillips wasn't with him. We stared at each other. Instead of being angry, he walked slowly into the room and picked up the box. He opened it and showed me the contents, pointing to each item. He was trying to share with me, to communicate. I sat down on the floor slowly. He sat down too, a few feet away. He picked up the river stone and held it out to me. I took it gently, turning it over in my hands. It was smooth and gray with a white stripe through the middle. I nodded and smiled, then handed it back. He smiled too, a real smile that lit up his whole face. Then he pulled out a small notepad and pencil from his pocket. He wrote quickly and showed me the paper. "I found this at the beach. Before." I took the pencil and wrote carefully. "It's beautiful. You have a good eye for special things." He read my words and his smile grew wider. He wrote again. "No one looks at my collection. Just you." My heart broke and healed at the same time. I wrote back. "These are your treasures. They're important." He nodded enthusiastically. "Gabriel." Mrs. Harrison's voice called from downstairs. He jumped up immediately, fear flashing across his face. I stood too, quickly smoothing the bed covers. Mrs. Harrison appeared in the doorway, slightly out of breath. When she saw me, her expression hardened. "What's going on here?" "I was changing the linens, ma'am. Gabriel just returned from his appointment." She looked between us, suspicious. "Gabriel, go to the sunroom." He left quickly without looking back. Mrs. Harrison stepped closer to me. "Elena, I thought I was clear about maintaining distance." "Yes, ma'am. I was just doing my work. Gabriel doesn't need friends. He needs structure and routine. I wanted to say so many things, but I was just a maid." "It won't happen again, ma'am," I said softly. She studied me for a long moment. "Mrs. Chun spoke highly of you. Don't make me regret hiring you." "No, ma'am." She left, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floors. I finished changing the linens with shaking hands. But when I turned to leave, I noticed something on the pillow. The river stone from Gabriel's collection. He'd left it for me. I picked it up carefully and slipped it into my pocket. That evening, I found Mrs. Chun in the kitchen. She was having tea. "May I join you?" I asked. She nodded. I sat down heavily. "Mrs. Harrison spoke to me today," Mrs. Chun said quietly. "About Gabriel." "I know. I'm sorry if I caused problems." She shook her head. "You didn't cause anything. You're just kind. And kindness makes some people uncomfortable. I don't understand how they can be so cold to him." Mrs. Chun sipped her tea slowly. "It's not coldness, Elena. It's fear. Fear. Gabriel was born perfect," she said. "Hearing, healthy, everything. Then when he was 3 years old he got sick. Meningitis. They didn't catch it in time. He lost his hearing completely." I felt tears burning my eyes. "Oh, that poor baby." Mrs. Harrison blamed herself. She had been at a charity gala that night. The nanny was watching Gabriel. When he spiked a fever, the nanny thought it was just a cold. By the time Mrs. Harrison got home, "It was too late," I whispered. Mrs. Chun nodded. She threw herself into finding solutions. The best doctors, the best therapies, but nothing could bring back what was lost. And Mr. Harrison threw himself into work. They both cope by staying busy. But Gabriel is suffering. Yes, Mrs. Chen agreed sadly. He is. I touched the stone in my pocket. Maybe we can just be human. Show him that someone sees him. Climbing. I just didn't know how high those walls really were. Over the next few weeks, I found small ways to connect with Gabriel. I started leaving small notes in places only he would find them. You're brave. Your smile is sunshine. The world is lucky to have you. Simple messages. But I hoped they mattered. And he responded. A flower from the garden left on my cleaning cart. A drawing slipped under my door. A wave from his window when he saw me in the courtyard. We were building a secret friendship. But secrets in big houses don't stay hidden forever. One afternoon, I was polishing the railing when I heard voices from Mr. Harrison's study. The door was slightly open. We need to make a decision, Victoria. Mr. Harrison's voice was tired. There's nothing to decide, James. We've tried everything. There are specialized schools. Places where he could be with other children like him. My hand stopped moving. You want to send him away? Mrs. Harrison's voice rose. To strangers. To professionals who understand his needs better than we do. We have professionals. An entire team. And he's still miserable, Victoria. You can see it as clearly as I can. There was a long pause. When Mrs. Harrison spoke again, her voice was broken. I know. I see it every day. But if we send him away, it means we've failed. It means I failed him twice. You didn't fail him. I did. I chose a party over my son. And because of that, he lost everything. How can I send him away now? I heard crying. I finally forced myself to walk away. Tears streaming down my own face. I understood them better now. They weren't cold or cruel. They were broken. Guilt-ridden. But understanding them didn't change the fact that Gabriel was paying the price. That night, Gabriel left another drawing under my door. A small stick figure boy surrounded by tall gray walls. Above the walls, a bird flew free in a blue sky. At the bottom, I wish I could fly away. I sat on my bed and sobbed. Something had to change. Someone had to do something. I was just a maid. Just an ordinary woman with no power, no authority. Except, I had something that Gabriel's parents had forgotten about. I had time. I had patience. I had the memory of being a teacher. And I had a secret that I'd been carrying for 30 years. I knew sign language. Not the formal kind that Miss Phillips was teaching. The real, fluid, emotional language that I'd learned from my younger brother, Carlos, who had been born deaf. Carlos died when I was 23 in a car accident. But before that, he'd taught me to see the world the way he did. To understand that deaf didn't mean less. I'd never mentioned it to anyone in the Harrison household. It hadn't seemed relevant. But now, looking at Gabriel's drawing, I realized this was why I was here. I just had to figure out how to help him without losing my job or making everything worse. The opportunity came on a rainy Thursday afternoon in October. Mrs. Harrison had an important charity luncheon. Mr. Harrison was traveling. Miss Phillips called in sick with the flu. The backup tutor couldn't come until evening. Mrs. Chun found me folding laundry. Elena, I need your help. Of course. Gabriel needs supervision until the evening tutor arrives. Can you watch him? Just for a few hours. My heart started racing. Are you sure Mrs. Harrison would approve? Mrs. Chun looked exhausted. She doesn't have much choice. And I trust you more than some stranger. At least Gabriel knows you. I'll do it, I said. 20 minutes later, I found myself in the sunroom with Gabriel. He sat at his small desk, looking confused about why I was there. I pulled up a chair and sat down across from him. Then I did something I've been wanting to do for weeks. I signed to him. Hello, Gabriel. My name is Elena. His eyes went huge. His mouth fell open. Then he signed back hesitantly. You know sign language? Yes. My brother was deaf. He taught me when I was young. Gabriel's hands moved faster now. Your brother was like me? Yes. He was like you. Smart, kind, special. Where is he now? I hesitated, then decided on honesty. He died a long time ago. But he taught me many things. Important things. Gabriel's face fell. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Because of him I can talk to you. Really talk. A smile spread across Gabriel's face. A huge genuine smile. He signed rapidly. No one talks to me like this. Miss Phillips teaches me signs, but she doesn't really talk. She just teaches. My heart ached. What do you want to talk about? He thought for a moment. Everything. I want to talk about everything. And so we did. For the next 4 hours, Gabriel and I communicated in ways he never had with anyone in that house. I taught him conversational signs, the ones that made language feel alive. He showed me his favorite books. We talked about the birds in the garden, the clouds in the sky, what his favorite color was. Have you ever been to the ocean? I asked. He nodded sadly. Once. When I was little. Before I got sick. Mom says we can't go anymore because it's too dangerous. But I remember the waves. The waves are beautiful, I signed. Powerful and gentle at the same time. Like you, he signed. Then his cheeks turned pink. I mean, you're nice but also strong. I smiled. That's the kindest thing anyone has said to me in a long time. We were sitting on the floor, looking at books together, when Gabriel suddenly turned serious. Elena, why don't my parents talk to me? The question hit me hard. What do you mean? They give me instructions. They tell me what to do. But they don't talk to me. Not like you do. Not like I'm a real person. Your parents love you very much, I signed carefully. But sometimes grown-ups get scared. And when they're scared, they forget how to show love the right way. Scared of what? Of losing you. Of not being able to help you. He frowned. But I'm right here. You're right. But sometimes, people can't see what's right in front of them. Gabriel nodded slowly. Elena, can I ask you something? Anything. Will you be my friend? My real friend. Tears filled my eyes. I reached out and gently squeezed his hand. I already am your friend. I have been since the day I met you. He launched himself at me, wrapping his arms around my neck in a tight hug. I held him close, feeling his small body shake with emotion. We stayed like that for several minutes. When we finally pulled apart, Gabriel wiped his eyes and signed. This is the best day I've had in forever. Me too, I signed back. We spent the rest of the afternoon drawing pictures together. Gabriel drew robots, dinosaurs, the ocean. I drew flowers and birds and silly cartoons that made him laugh silently. When the evening tutor finally arrived at 6, Gabriel's face fell. He didn't want the afternoon to end. Neither did I. As Mrs. Harrison came home, I slipped back into my role as invisible staff. But Gabriel and I shared a secret smile. I thought we'd gotten away with our perfect afternoon. I was wrong. The next morning, Mrs. Chun knocked on my door before breakfast. Her face was pale. Mrs. Harrison wants to see you in her office. Immediately. My stomach dropped. Did something happen? Mrs. Chun shook her head. I don't know. But be careful. Mrs. Harrison's office was cold and minimalist. She sat behind a glass desk, her expression unreadable. Sit down, Elena. I sat, my hands clasped tightly. The evening tutor reported something interesting yesterday, Mrs. Harrison began. She said Gabriel was unusually happy. She said he kept signing about his friend Elena, and what a wonderful afternoon he'd had. I stayed silent. I wasn't aware that you knew sign language. You never asked, ma'am. Her eyes narrowed. Why didn't you mention it? It didn't seem relevant to my position. But yesterday, when you were asked to supervise Gabriel, you used that knowledge extensively. Yes, ma'am. I thought it would help him feel comfortable. Mrs. Harrison leaned back in her chair. How long have you known sign language? Since I was a child. My younger brother was deaf. Was. He passed away many years ago. Something flickered in her eyes. Sympathy? It was gone too quickly to tell. Elena, I need to know exactly what you and Gabriel discussed. I chose my words carefully. We talked about books, colors, nature, simple things. Did he mention his father or me? My heart pounded. He asked why you didn't communicate with him the way I did. I told him that you loved him very much, but that sometimes grown-ups forget how to show love when they're worried. Mrs. Harrison's jaw tightened. You told my son his parents don't know how to love him? No, ma'am. I told him you love him very much. But that fear sometimes gets in the way. She stood abruptly, walking to the window. For a long moment she stared out at the gardens. "Gabriel smiled at breakfast this morning," she said quietly. "Really smiled. Do you know how long it's been since I've seen my son genuinely smile?" I didn't answer. "He signed to me," she continued. "Tried to tell me about something. But I couldn't understand him fast enough. He got frustrated and stopped trying. Then Miss Phillips arrived and he went back to being quiet. Sad." She turned back to face me. "My son came alive with you yesterday. Why?" I took a deep breath. "Permission to speak honestly, ma'am? Please. I have time. Not scheduled therapy time. Just time. Time to let him be a child. Time to let him share what matters to him. And I have someone who understands what it's like to love someone, who experiences the world differently." Mrs. Harrison's eyes glistened with tears. "I do love him. More than anything." "I know you do, ma'am. But he's 7 years old. He needs to feel it." She sat back down, looking very tired. "I don't know how to reach him. I failed him once and I'm terrified of failing him again." "You didn't. 'Cause his illness. I wasn't there when he needed me. You're here now. That's what matters." She wiped her eyes carefully. "What would you do, Elena? If he were your son?" "I would learn his language. Not just the signs but his language. The way he sees the world. And I would let him teach me." Mrs. Harrison nodded slowly. "The tutor said Gabriel asked if you could teach him instead of Miss Phillips. He said he learns better with you." "I'm not qualified. Just a former teacher with 20 years of experience?" She raised an eyebrow. Mrs. Chun did a background check. "I know about your teaching career." She stood again, this time with purpose. "I'm going to make a proposal. I want you to become Gabriel's primary companion and supplementary tutor. You would work with Miss Phillips and his therapist, but you would also spend time with him each day. Unstructured time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mrs. Harrison, the salary increase would be substantial. You would have more responsibility. But Gabriel needs something we can't give him. And you can." "I don't need more money. I would do this for free." She smiled slightly. "I know. That's why I trust you. But you will be compensated. This is recognition that Gabriel needs what you offer." "Are you sure?" "No," she said honestly. "But I'm sure my son was happy yesterday. Really happy. And I want him to have more of that." I stood, my legs shaking. "Then yes. Thank you for trusting me." She nodded. "Don't make me regret this. Gabriel is my whole world. I would protect him with my life," I promised. As I left her office, my mind was spinning. Everything had changed. I wasn't just a maid anymore. I was Gabriel's companion, his friend, his bridge to the world. The next 6 months transformed all of our lives. Mrs. Harrison enrolled in sign language classes. She practiced every night. The first time she signed a full sentence to Gabriel at breakfast, he cried. Right there at the table, tears streaming down. His face, he signed back. "I love you, Mama." Mrs. Harrison cried too. And Mr. Harrison, watching from behind his newspaper, put it down and pulled both of them into his arms. It wasn't perfect. Mrs. Harrison's signs were often stiff. She would get frustrated when she couldn't remember a word. But Gabriel didn't care about perfection. He cared that she was trying. Mr. Harrison took longer. But slowly he softened. He started coming home earlier, sitting with Gabriel during homework, being present even in silence. One Saturday, I found them in the garden together. Mr. Harrison was teaching Gabriel about roses, using basic signs and written notes. Gabriel listened intently, touching each flower. I stood back and watched. This was what healing looked like. Small moments building into something stronger. My days with Gabriel fell into a new rhythm. Mornings with Miss Phillips for formal education. But afternoons were ours. We started a garden together. Gabriel planted sunflower seeds and checked them daily, measuring their growth in a notebook. "Why sunflowers?" I asked. "Because they're tall and strong," he signed. "They grow toward the sun even when they start small. Like me." I had to turn away so he wouldn't see me cry. We did art projects. Gabriel loved painting. He painted what he couldn't hear: waves, birds, storms. His paintings were full of movement. Mrs. Harrison framed several and hung them throughout the house. My son is an artist, she told her friends proudly. We went on field trips. To museums where Gabriel could touch ancient pottery. To botanical gardens where he could smell every flower. To the aquarium where he watched dolphins swim. The world became bigger for Gabriel. Less confined. Less lonely. But the biggest change came from something unexpected. One afternoon, Gabriel and I were in the library when he looked up and signed, "Elena, can I ask you about your brother?" Of course. What was his name? Carlos. Did he like being deaf? I thought. Carefully. He didn't think of it as something to like or not like. It was just who he was. Like having brown eyes. It wasn't bad or good. It just was. Did other people understand? Not always. Some people treated him like he was broken. That hurt him more than being deaf ever did. Gabriel nodded slowly. That's how I feel. When the doctors come with their tests. Like I'm a problem they need to solve. You're not a problem, I signed firmly. You're perfect exactly as you are. But I can't hear. So? You can see. You can feel. You can love. Your deafness doesn't take that away. He sat with that. Then he asked, was Carlos happy? Yes, I signed. He was very happy. He had friends. He went to college. He traveled. He lived a full, beautiful life. Gabriel's eyes were bright. There are others like me? Yes. Thousands. Children and adults. Artists and scientists. People living full lives. Gabriel's face transformed. Can I meet them? My heart swelled. I think we should talk to your parents about that. That evening, I approached Mrs. Harrison. I explained Gabriel's questions. His need to feel normal instead of broken. Mrs. Harrison listened carefully. I've been so focused on helping him function in a hearing world, she said quietly. I never considered that there was a whole world where he already fits perfectly. He needs both, I said, to navigate the hearing world and to feel proud of who he is. What do you suggest? There's a school. For deaf children. They have weekend programs. Activities, sports, art classes. All designed for deaf children. Mrs. Harrison's voice caught. You want us to send Gabriel away? No. Just weekend programs to start. He could attend and come home. Meet other children like him. She walked to her window. We've been so afraid of Gabriel being around other children. Afraid he'd be bullied. He's already left out, I said gently. Here in his own home. At that school he'd belong. She turned back. Will you come? With him? Of course. Then let's do it. Let's give our son the world. 2 weeks later, Gabriel attended his first weekend program at the Riverside School for the Deaf. He was nervous. He held my hand tightly as we walked through the doors. Other children were everywhere, signing, laughing, playing. A boy about Gabriel's age ran up. He signed quickly. Hi, are you new? Want to play soccer? Gabriel looked up at me, uncertain. I signed, go ahead. Have fun. He took a step forward. The boy grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the playground. Within minutes, Gabriel was running and kicking a ball with other children. I stood back and watched, tears streaming down my face. He belonged. Finally, he belonged. When I picked him up 3 hours later, Gabriel was completely transformed. Excited. He signed rapidly all the way home about the friends he'd made. They're like me, he signed. All of them. And they don't think I'm broken. Because you're not broken, I reminded him. I know, he signed. And for the first time I believed he truly understood. Over the following months, Gabriel blossomed. He attended weekend programs regularly. He made friends. Real friends. He had playdates and birthday parties. Mrs. Harrison threw herself into the deaf community too. She volunteered. She organized fundraisers. She started a scholarship program. She told me once, I spent so much time mourning what Gabriel lost. I never celebrated what he gained. What did he gain? A unique way of seeing the world. And a mother who finally learned to really listen. Mr. Harrison learned basic signs. He installed visual alert systems throughout the house. He started taking Gabriel to his office, showing him how the company worked. He's brilliant, Mr. Harrison told me once. Being deaf hasn't limited his intelligence. I'm ashamed it took me so long to see that. By Gabriel's 8th birthday, everything had changed. The party was at the mansion, but it wasn't formal or stiff. 20 children from his school came. The house was full of flying hands and silent laughter. Mrs. Harrison had learned to sign happy birthday perfectly. Gabriel blew out his candles with all his friends around him. Then he turned to me and signed, "This is the best birthday ever." That night, after guests left and Gabriel was in bed, Mrs. Harrison asked me to come to her office. I went nervously. Both Mr. and Mrs. Harrison were there, smiling. "Elena," Mrs. Harrison began, "you've become more than staff. You've become family." I felt tears filling my eyes. "You've all become family to me too." "We'd like to formalize that," Mr. Harrison said. "We'd like to make you Gabriel's godmother. Give you a permanent place in this family." I couldn't speak. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Mr. Harrison said simply. I thought about my husband, Miguel. How he would have loved this. How he would have said this was why I survived when he didn't. To help this boy. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." Mrs. Harrison came around and hugged me tightly. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing Gabriel when we were blind. For teaching us how to love our son." "He taught me too," I said. "He taught me that even in silence, there can still be music." That was a year ago now. Gabriel is 9 years old. He attends the Riverside School part-time and thrives. His art has been featured in local galleries. He has a best friend named Mason. He's learning chess and is surprisingly good at it. Last week, he told his mother he wanted to be an artist when he grows up. She didn't try to talk him out of it. She just signed, "Then you'll be the best artist in the world." The house is different now. It's not a museum anymore. It's loud with silent laughter. Full of Gabriel's artwork. Messy with the happy chaos of a child who feels free to be himself. And me? I have a family again. Purpose. A reason to wake up with gratitude. Last week, Gabriel came home from school excited. He pulled me into the library and signed rapidly, "Elena, there's a new kid at school. From another country. He doesn't know sign language yet. He looks so scared. That must be hard for him." "Yes. But I remembered what you told me. About being a bridge. About helping others." My heart swelled. "What did you do?" "I sat with him at lunch. I showed him basic signs. I held his hand when he got scared. I was his friend just like you were mine." "Gabriel, that's wonderful." He grinned. He smiled at me. Really smiled. "And you know what?" "What?" I realized something. Being deaf isn't something bad that happened to me. It's something that made me who I am. And who I am is someone who can help others feel less alone. Just like you helped me. I pulled him into a hug, tears streaming down my face. This beautiful, compassionate, wise child. This boy who had been so isolated and is now helping someone else feel less alone. Gabriel pulled something from his pocket. The smooth river stone from that first day we really connected. "I want you to keep this," he signed. "To remember that small things can change everything. You were a small thing in my big world. But you changed everything." I held that stone in my palm, feeling its weight. "You changed everything for me too." I signed back. That evening, I sat in my room and thought about the journey we'd all taken. From a mansion filled with silence and sadness to a home filled with love and laughter. From a little boy trapped behind walls to a thriving child with friends and dreams. From parents consumed by guilt to parents celebrating their son. From a widow lost in grief to a woman who found purpose. It all started because someone was willing to listen. Really listen. I thought about all the children out there like Gabriel once was. Isolated. Misunderstood. Treated as problems instead of treasures. And I made a promise. I would tell this story. So that somewhere someone might hear it and understand. Understand that the most important communication happens through presence. Through patience. Through willingness to learn someone else's language. Understand that every child deserves to be seen for who they truly are. Gabriel is sleeping now down the hall. Tomorrow, he'll help his new friend learn sign language. He'll paint something beautiful. He'll laugh with Mason. He'll come home and tell his parents about his day. And I'll be here, grateful beyond measure. Because this story isn't about deafness or silence or overcoming challenges. It's about love. Simple, profound, transformative love. The kind that listens with more than ears. The kind that sees with more than eyes. Gabriel didn't need to be fixed. He needed to be understood. His parents didn't need to try harder. They needed to try differently. And I didn't need to save anyone. I just needed to show up and remember what Carlos taught me. That being different is not a deficit. It's a gift. That silence is not empty. It's full of everything that matters. And that the most powerful sound in the world is not something you hear with your ears. It's something you feel with your heart. When I pulled out that river stone, when I showed Gabriel that I saw him, really saw him, everything changed. Not because I did something extraordinary, but because I did something simple. I listened. And sometimes that's all any of us really need. Someone who will listen. Someone who will see us. Someone who will accept us exactly as we are. Gabriel taught me that in a world full of noise, the most beautiful conversations happen in silence. And in that silence we can hear what we've been missing. The sound of hearts connecting. The sound of souls understanding. The sound of love speaking in a language that transcends all barriers. This is Gabriel's story. But it's also mine. And maybe it's yours too. Because we're all a little deaf to something. We all struggle to hear, to understand, to connect. But if we're willing to learn, if we're willing to try, if we're willing to listen with more than just our ears, then we can all find our way out of the silence and into the light. 2 months ago, Mrs. Harrison came to me with news. She'd been working with the Riverside School on something special. They were creating a new program, an after-school initiative where deaf children could mentor hearing children, teaching them about deaf culture and sign language. I want Gabriel to be part of it, she said. If he wants to. We asked him together. His face lit up like the sun. I can teach others, he signed. Like Elena taught me? Yes, Mrs. Harrison signed back, her movements more fluid now. You can be a bridge. Just like Elena was for you. Gabriel turned to me. Will you help me? Always, I signed. Last week was the first session. 10 hearing children came with their parents. Gabriel stood in front of them, nervous but brave, and began teaching them the alphabet in sign language. I watched from the back of the room as this little boy who once felt so alone became a teacher, a leader, a light for others. The parents watched with tears in their eyes as their children's hands formed their first signs. After class, one mother approached Mrs. Harrison. Thank you for this, she said. My daughter has been asking questions about deaf people, about why some children are different. This helps her understand that different is beautiful. Mrs. Harrison smiled. My son taught me that. It just took me too long to learn. That night, the Harrison family had dinner together. All of them, sitting around the table signing and laughing. Gabriel told them about his day, about how one little girl had trouble with the letter R, and how he'd patiently helped her, about how a boy had asked if being deaf hurt, and Gabriel had explained that it didn't hurt, it was just different. I told him, Gabriel signed, that being deaf gave me superpowers. I can sleep through anything. I can focus without being distracted by noise. And I can feel music through vibrations, which is like magic. Mr. Harrison reached over and ruffled his hair. You are pretty magical, kiddo. Mrs. Harrison signed. We're proud of you. So proud. Gabriel beamed. After dinner, as I was clearing dishes, Gabriel followed me to the kitchen. Elena, he signed. Can I tell you something? Always. I used to pray every night that God would make me hear again. That I'd wake up and everything would be normal. My heart ached. And now I pray that I can help other kids like me know they're not alone. That I can be for someone else what you were for me. He paused, then continued. I don't want to hear anymore. I like who I am. I like my deaf friends. I like that I see the world differently. Is that okay? I knelt down to his level, tears streaming down my face. Gabriel, that's more than okay. That's beautiful. That's everything. I think, he signed slowly, carefully, that I was always meant to be deaf. Because if I could hear, I never would have met you. My parents never would have learned to really see me. I never would have found my friends at Riverside. Sometimes the things we think are broken are actually the things that make us whole. I pulled him into a hug. This wise, wonderful child who had taught an entire family how to love. You're going to change the world, Gabriel. I whispered, even though he couldn't hear me. But he felt it. in the way I held him, in the love that surrounded us. He pulled back and signed, "We'll change it together." And you know what? I believe we will. Because this story doesn't end here. It's still being written. Every day that Gabriel wakes up and chooses to be proud of who he is. Every time Mrs. Harrison signs with confidence instead of fear. Every moment Mr. Harrison chooses presence over work. Every time a child learns that different is not less. Every time a parent learns to listen with their heart instead of their ears. Every time someone chooses understanding over judgment. The story continues. And the silence? It's not silent at all. It's full of hope, full of love, full of possibility. Gabriel once drew me a picture. In it there's a boy standing on top of a wall, arms spread wide like wings. Above him the sky is full of birds and stars and sunshine. At the bottom he wrote, "I don't need to fly away anymore. I learned to fly right where I am." That picture hangs in my room now, next to the river stone, next to photos of our family, because that's what we are now, a family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. And every night before I sleep, I thank God for that rainy Thursday when Mrs. Chun asked me to watch Gabriel. For those 4 hours that changed everything. For the courage to pull out my knowledge of sign language and show a lonely little boy that he was seen. For the Harrison family learning to love differently, more deeply, more truly. For Gabriel teaching me that the greatest disability is not deafness. It's the inability to see the beauty in those who are different from us. My husband Miguel used to say that we're all put on this earth for a reason. That every person we meet is either a lesson or a blessing. Gabriel is both. He taught me that home isn't a place. It's the people who see you for who you truly are and love you anyway. He taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about choosing each other every single day. He taught me that silence can speak louder than words ever could. And most importantly, he taught me that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, a wave, a note, a willingness to listen, can change someone's entire world. So to anyone listening to this story, I want you to remember something. You might feel like you're just one person, too small to make a difference, too ordinary to change anything. But you're not. You're exactly what someone needs. Your kindness matters. Your presence matters. Your willingness to see people, really see them, matters more than you'll ever know. Don't wait for permission to. Be compassionate. Don't wait for the perfect moment to reach out. Don't let fear stop you from loving loudly. Because somewhere there's a child sitting alone. Somewhere, there's a family struggling in silence. Somewhere, there's a person who just needs someone to see them. Be that someone. Pull out your own river stone, whatever gift you carry, and share it. You never know whose life you might change. You never know whose story you might rewrite. You never know whose silence you might fill with hope. Gabriel is 9 years old now, and he's not afraid of the silence anymore. Because he learned that silence is just another language. And he's fluent. We all are if we're willing to learn. Listen with your heart. See with your soul. Love without limits. And watch the miracles unfold. This is the story of how a maid became a godmother. How a broken family became whole. How a deaf boy became a teacher. How silence became the most beautiful sound in the world. And it all started with one simple act. I pulled out something they never expected. Not a hearing aid. Not a miracle cure. Not a solution to fix Gabriel. I pulled out understanding, acceptance, love, and that changed everything.